Herzlich willkommen zu Music Talk, dem Music- und Sound Production Podcast aus Berlin.
Matt Black from Coldcut, standing next to me. Matt, you are part of Energy Union Tour. Why did you join this tour? It's kind of a campaign, but it's also a music tour and a discussion forum, all focused on intelligent energy. Why did you join this?
Energy Union is an international group of friends, including myself, who decided to get together to put our interests about art, music, politics and partying into a package. And we got a grant from the EU so we could do that. And that's what the project's about, really. Going around Europe, doing these events and with carrying the theme of intelligent energy forward, because that's what we all believe in. So Coldcut are part of that.
You will show audiovisual show, kind of audiovisual cinema. How did you how do you work with the topic of this with the theme of this tour, that is intelligent energy? Also ich übersetze mal kurz. Intelligente Energie ist das Thema der Energy Union Tour und wie wird Matt gleich dieses Thema audiovisuell hier bearbeiten in seiner Show?
So we've looked at what's going on, what our lives are like, what we think of the situation we're in, and that's what the show's about. So there are other films out about climate change and the environment, but most of them are a bit depressing. So we wanted to make ours a lot more optimistic, because that's how we feel about life generally. So the show's in 4 sections. The first called Celebration, which is a celebration of what it's like to be alive, of the natural world, and also our civilization, that we live peaceful and enjoyable lives, most of us, certainly in Europe. And then things are going a bit downhill. Caution is the second section, highlighting some of the problems that we're creating in the environment through ignorance, really. Ignorance and sometimes greed. We could damage the environment that we're living in, which would be a pity. How do we stop doing that? We need the solutions, which is the third section, and that's concentrating largely on renewable energy solutions like solar energy, wind energy. We have plenty of energy. There's enough energy, and that's what the solution section's around, showing that. And then in the fourth section, action is, okay, well, we know we have the solutions, but how do we put them into practice? How do we change our governments and corporations and our own personal perspective to get to the point where we want to be? How do we change? How do we move forward? By taking action. And this section checks out the different ways in which we can take political and personal action.
And now to the more technical stuff. You're part of Coldcut, kind of the masterminds of sampling remixes, and also nowadays you work very much with video. You do much video stuff and really choreographed audiovisual cinema shows. How do you set it up that everything is in time and that the music and the image are in perfect sync and so on? Ich habe gefragt, Matt als Teil von Coldcut, als Sampling-Pionier, der auch in den letzten Jahren immer mehr mit Video gearbeitet hat, wie er es hinkriegt, solche perfekten audiovisuellen Shows zu machen, die perfekt gesynkt sind, wo das Bild genau zum Ton passt.
Right, so Coldcut's slogan, actually Stu from Hexstatic came up with this. What you see is what you hear. So the aim is to get that connection between sound and image tight and interesting. Actually, any sound can go with any image, but there are many ways in which one can make those links. So we explore and play with different ways in which sound and image can be hooked together. In the past, we used VHS machines, like old video recorders, and old school video mixers, and other, bits of circuit and equipment like analog video synthesizers. And now it's more about what one can do with the digital tools. So a laptop, I don't want to be a salesman for Apple or Microsoft, but a laptop is an amazing power station for being able to express yourself creatively. On my laptop, I've got full video editing, full audio editing, and the ability to DJ and jam, synchronize, synthesize, and process both sound and image. And that is an incredible thing. So basically, what you see here is computers and interfaces. Like this is an interface which lets me play with my hands like a performance instrument, but it's controlling the computer. So just to go with your mouse on the computer is pretty boring. And this is actually a more fluid and more exciting way to perform. So computers and physical interfaces.
I see here the Novation Launchpad.
Yeah.
It's the Ableton Live interface.
Yeah.
Is Ableton Live your main station, your sequencer, your sequencing device?
Yeah, Ableton does it for us on the sound department. And a few years ago, we developed our own Coldcut software called DJam, which was very much like Ableton, actually. Basically, there are a few of them. They're loop engines that let you do automatic synchronization of loops. And Ableton's developed over the years. I've talked to them about developments and even contributed to some of the features, like the beat repeat is based on a plugin called the Coldcut, which I think I could say is the first glitch plugin. You probably know what that is, that takes loop and chops it up and randomizes it. And yeah, those guys rock, and it's a good product. And then on the visual side, we have our own software, VJam. We have VDMX, some American guys I know develop that, and that's actually what I'm using for visuals on the Mac at the moment. And those two programs with Quartz Composer in the middle, and then I'm just getting into Max MSP. I've got a friend who's helping develop bits of code for that. So Max MSP is like a Lego set that you can build stuff out of to do certain jobs.
And it's nowadays it's integrated in Ableton Live also.
Now it's integrated in Ableton with Max for Live. That's great. Serato we use sometimes as well, which is probably the top time-coded vinyl solution that lets you evolve DJing with vinyl to take it into the digital stage, which is something we always said needed to happen to keep the DJ skills alive. So those are the kind of tools that we use, and it's laptops and interfaces. Basically, it's the same thing. The record deck is an interface as well, so that's what they're using there is Serato, but on a good old Technics SL1200, the hip-hop icon.
You're all alone on stage in a few minutes, or are you together with Jonathan?
No, John's in LA working on the album at the moment. It was the only way we could do these, to fill this show, was for me to be here and do it. But this has been mainly my project, and John's more involved on the album side. And there's going to be the Coldcut Solid Steel Mix CD, which we're working on as well. And then after the Coldcut Energy Union show, there's going to be a set from Nosage Thing, who's one of these West Coast hot new electronic talents. He's going to be doing a live set. Again, similar thing, using Ableton and trigger interface like the kind of MPC style control interface. And he gets a heavy, really funky sound. I was listening to him soundcheck and chatting to him. Interesting, they're getting into visuals as well with Flying Lotus, and him and their mates also realizing that when you add visuals to electronic music, you take it to another level. One of the ways we term it is live cinema.